Hello, and welcome to the village. Welcome to the village again. Welcome back. This is part two of our conversation about leading during the pandemic. Ooh, we want to know, like, can you really turn around the school and focus on student achievement during the pandemic? We want to know. So we didn't have all the answers to the question.
Surprise, surprise.
So we invited our friend, Principal Shawn Hurt, who is the turnaround specialist. He joined us for part one, and now we're going to continue our conversation during parts two discussion about leading during the pandemic, really thinking about the strategies we can use to turn around our schools, even during a pandemic. So again, welcome to the village. I am Dr. Roz, and
I'm Coach Williams. Hey, y'all.
We're the village, and we are all excited about empowering and encouraging our teachers so that you guys can develop leadership skills, identify your strengths, and reignite your passion for teaching and learning. Like, we want you guys to get excited, even during the pandemic. That's why we started our village during the pandemic, so that we can encourage and share best practices. Now, today's topic, again, this is part two, is we want to talk to our leadership teams, our principals, school leaders, and teacher leaders. Like, how do you focus and your attention and drill down the data even during the pandemic? We want to know. So, again, welcome back, Shawn Hurt, Principal Turnaround Specialist. Thank you for joining us again for our part two of our discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me, ladies. I'm just excited. I cannot wait just to be able to pour to the educators out there the little bit of knowledge that I have.
Oh, a little bit.
Love the knowledge.
So again, those of you who may or may not know Shawn Hurt, I don't know where you've been. He's been part of the village for a while, and he does his own thing, especially on his Saturday PD. I'm a big fan. Okay, so again, Principal Hurt, tell them a little bit about what you do and the type of information you pour into school leadership teams.
Well, I've been an educator for 21 years. I worked at every level, high school, elementary, and middle school level, principal for the last 14 years. And on Saturdays, let's just start with my Saturdays. On Saturdays, I have a podcast, a Facebook Live that I've been doing for the last 2.5 years, from 10 to 10:30, and I just like to pour into educators everything I know as it relates to raising student achievement, looking at data, principal pedagogy, making sure that we're working to the best of our abilities. You name it, I talk about it, and everything that I give out is free information. You know, I'm a firm believer in helping out the next person. You know, as I look at the landscape of education, I told myself about 8 years ago, I said, you know what, if I can help and support one teacher, one principal, one school, one district, then I can impact hundreds of kids. And it went from that to, okay, by the year 2025, I want to be able to impact not just one, but 25 schools and be able to not just touch 100 kids, but over 25,000 kids. So that's my mission in life. That's what I want to do. I am very clear and very passionate that if we can develop more leaders, more instructional leaders, then we can impact particular neighborhoods, and neighborhoods will impact communities. And then from there, we can have a better world. So that's my mission. That's my vision. And I am going to do it by 2025.
See, you know what? That he knows his why.
Okay.
And we talk about that a lot within the village, like knowing your why. Your why will keep you motivated. And so that's your passion. And so I love it. Now, I know you get a lot of folks tuning in on Saturday, but Coach Williams, she has a question for you, you know, about why.
So let me tell you, I'm kind of known in the village to just jump out there. So for the people, why should I listen to you? I'm an educator, I'm an educational leader, and I'm like, I've read all these books, I've heard other people, but why do I want the information from Mr. Shawn Hurt? Convinced.
Well, no, that is a good question. I think the reason why I think anyone should listen to me is that I'm a firm believer that before I say anything, I have data, I have information that can back it up. Like I tell leaders all across the world, you know, if you're trying to change an inner city school, if you're trying to become a reward school, if you want 1.5 years worth of growth in math and reading based on your district assessment, those are things that I have been doing for the last 7 years. You know, and I'm not for everybody. If you are an inner city school, if you have 100 free and reduced lunch, black or Latino kids, whatever that looks like, I'm the one that you should listen to because I have the results to back it up. Like when I started teaching, I always told myself, why should I listen to somebody that haven't taught the same type of kids I have? How can I listen to somebody that haven't made the results that I'm trying to make? So when I became a consultant, when I started to do this work, I said, I am not going to talk. I'm not going to teach. I'm not going to put anything out there that I have not done myself. Not only as a principal, but also as I'm dealing with the teachers. You know, I tell teachers all of the time, I'm going to give you strategies that I've given my teachers, not 5 years ago, but 5 minutes ago or 5 days ago or last week, because I'm currently doing the work. I am currently a principal and also a consultant. So that's why I believe that you should listen to me and kind of follow the things that I'm doing. It's nothing that I'm doing that's outside of the box. It's nothing different. But what I'm doing is that I'm really being very strategic and very specific on what we call best practices and what I know that will work inside of a school.
I basically heard he got the stats to back it up.
Well, know what, Coach Williams. The reality of it is this. Let's just be very honest and transparent.
Yeah.
We've been doing the same thing for the last 60, 70, 80 years, thinking we're going to get different results, and we begin the same results. Okay. So my frustration was about 15 years ago. I said, no, what? Why don't we get somebody that's going to do something different, some totally than what we're seeing, and let's see if we're going to get different results. And the thing that I said is, instead of me waiting for somebody to come in, how about I do it myself? How about I go ahead and take the risk? How about I go ahead and do the research? How about I go ahead and do these best practices for these, once again, these Black and Latino kids that all across the world is getting second tier education, and that burns me up. So that's why I am doing the work. That's why if you look at my library, I got thousands of books. That's why I'm listening to Dr. Roz. I'm listening to you, Coach. I'm doing all those things because I want to be able to feed my kids, my students, the best education possible.
Love it, love it. And one of the things that I loved about tuning in to your Saturday PDs is that you break it down and you make it very practical so that we can take what you're saying and actually implement it in our schools. Sometimes you listen to folks and they just give you theory,
Right.
or they just give you stats of why this sounds great, but they don't break it down. Like, tell me what you do step one. What can I do tomorrow in my school? So again, that is so practical, and I love that. So Principal Hurt, you talked about by 2025, and you want to do this and you want to do that. I heard SMART goals, and you talked about that before. SMART goals and drilling down the data and figuring out which Common Core standards to do. So I want to hear, like, what are some strategies, some real approach things that I can do right now?
I need me some pen and paper. I feel like
give us some strategy. What do we need to do in order to really focus our leadership team's attention? Because we're all over the place right now. We know it. I'm gonna be honest. We got a pandemic going on. We want to make sure our mental health is good, social emotional learning. We got equity, all these things, different things, mandates. How do we get focused?
Okay. Well, then the first thing I would say is that I always talk about you want to first develop a good, strong leadership team. Let's start with that. Principals out there, and I tell principals all the time, you're not Superman or Superwoman, so you cannot do it by yourself. That's the first thing. You have experts within your building, so get that leadership team strong first. That's the first thing. And when I say the leadership team is not just teachers, but it could be the custodians. It could be anybody that you know in your heart of hearts that would like to do the heavy lifting with you. So that is the first thing. Second thing is this, is that as you start to form this leadership team, I say you must deal with the elephant in the room, or you must get on an academic scale. A lot of times we don't deal with the elephant in the room. The elephant is staring in front of us all of the time. The teachers know about it. The parents know about the students, but we never talk about it. Okay, so you say, her, what is couple of elephants that's in the room as we talk about it today? First, let's talk about this pandemic. We know it's here, so now let's put things in place. Let's put strategies in place that will help support the teachers, the students, and the parents. Okay, and I think last year when it first started off, I had to have a meeting with my staff and first with my administrative team. I said, okay, how are we going to temperature check correctly?
Right.
When someone comes out down with COVID, what is going to be our protocol for shunning the school? How are we going to isolate that particular student? How are we going to get the information out to parents? How are we going to let the teachers feel comfortable still being able to teach? Even to the point where we were doing face to face and virtual. So we had to put all those things in place. So that was my leadership team, not me, but my leadership team coming up with different strategies, different ways on how to address that particular need right there. And then from there, they was able to speak to the other teachers and made them feel comfortable. Once again, it went from my administrative team to now my staff, and now we're making sure that we're bringing ideas to the table and everybody is on one accord. Okay. The next thing is that now we're talking about this year. Now, state assessment and district assessment have not went away. Okay. So in the next 9 to 10 months, we're all going to be judged, every school, by what the kids are learning. Now, it's going to be different because now we got the virtual and also the face to face. So the next thing is that you must set goals, smart goals, academic goals. Okay. And I tell everybody this all of the time. How do I know why should I follow you if you're not giving me a vision or nothing to follow you by? And then when I say the vision, it's not about, okay, we're gonna have a good school and everybody's gonna be kumbaya, but what academic goals, something that could be measurable, that I can see, that will let me know that I have accomplished my goal at the end of the year. So I'm telling schools, hey, you might want to increase your proficiency by 10 to 20% at the end of the year for your state test. For your district assessments, pretty much everybody use the same thing. iReady, NWEA, Scantron, IXL, pretty much. So now let's talk about growth. Let's talk about how we can set growth goals, not for the end of the year, but let's set growth goals for the middle of the year because you're taking it 3 times a year. The beginning of the year, that's when we get on an academic scale. And then now we're going to set goals for the kids for the middle of the year. So now when you start to have those type of conversations, everything that you're going to do for the next, not 36 weeks, for the next 12 to 15 weeks will be geared toward these goals. As a principal, the budgets that you're going to look at, are you going to put the right money, things in place to be able to deal with the academic achievement that needs to take place? So those are a few of the things that I'm telling principals and administrative teams they have to have in place in order to reach their goal at the end of the year.
And I like what you're saying. Basically, be strategic, be intentional. Come up with a plan. So, like you said, beginning of the year, middle of the year, but everything should be aligned to those SMART goals. I like what you're saying. So
Yeah.
the budget, the interventions that we are purchasing, why are we buying it? Does it help us reach our goal? I love it. So tell us a little bit about, the things that, those hurdles, those challenges that come up. Principals, unfortunately, they have all of these mandates that they have to pay attention to. Their job is on the line. So,
Yep.
People are looking at their graduation rates. They're looking at attendance.
Yep.
They're looking at school culture and different feedback from the community. They're looking, the higher ups are looking at a lot of data. How do you keep the school focused so that they are still looking at that those SMART goals instead of trying to look at all of the other pieces of data, because we have so much data in front of us. How do we stay focused? And I know that can be an issue. It's very distracting.
Yeah, it is very distracting. But one thing that I learned about before the pandemic is that every principal in this world will be judged by their academics. No matter how you want to slice it, I could be the nicest person in the world. Everybody will love me. But if my report card grade comes out at the end of the year and then I have an F, or if my academic achievement have went down, then now my superintendent's gonna have a conversation with me. So now you ask the question, well, what should I do? The first thing that I would tell any principal, I'm in Michigan, I'm in Atlanta, I'm in Georgia, I'm all over the world, and I looked at every report card grade. They're all saying the same thing. Your report card grade you will be measured by growth and proficiency. So if you know that, then consequently, let's address it. So now when we talk about growth, if we can first, like I said before, instead of waiting for 36 weeks, let's set up a 12 to 15 week focus standards based on our district assessment. Okay, you follow me very closely. So we're gonna set that up, and then from there, let's progress monitor every week what the kids are learning. I have 800 kids out of my school. How do I know that all 800 kids are showing mastery or learning that particular standard? So now I got to get the data back, and I have to have some type of, we call them systems, put systems in place for me as the principal to get the data to be able to know if my kids are growing or not. I can't wait to the 15-week mark or the 36-week mark. I must know week by week what's taking place. The other thing is that being able to have those conversations with the teacher. Now, Dr. Ross and Coach Williams, let's kind of be honest. And then I say this all of the time. You must spend 80% of your time in the classroom. I'm not talking about evaluating teachers, but I'm talking about in the classroom, looking at the instruction that's taking place. Like me, I'm a big math person, so I'm going to help those kids in high school, middle school math to help them out with the math. So now, if I'm in the classroom all the time or in the hallways, I know exactly what's going on in my school. So now, when we're going to these PLCs, staff meetings, I'm already saying, no, what, I got to take my budget and use this. I got to use this. I got to use that because I'm actually seeing it taking place. And now my teachers, they understand that, hey, I'm locked in step by step with them. I understand what they feel. I understand their frustration because I'm getting frustrated too because now I'm not the principal. I am the instructional leader, and we are laser focused on making sure that these kids are learning. And I think that's the biggest thing. We are lowering the standards, and we have all these other things that take place, and we don't focus on the end game. The end game is make sure that these kids are learning, and the only way that they're going to be able to learn is that if the principal and her instructional team is in those classrooms monitoring what's taking place.
I hear a challenge to these educational leaders. Get in the classroom. Get in there. Understand what's going on. I love it. You said math, and I was like, oh yeah. that's it. But understanding your school. I think a lot of times educators are kind of intimidated, or leaders are kind of intimidated. They don't want to lose their job. So, they're getting that pressure and they're putting that pressure on their teachers. But it's like you come at it with a team approach. We're all together. And a lot of times that gets lost in translation. And everybody.
Well, then what?
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, then once again, Coach Williams, like I said before, you can't do it by yourself. If I told you lift this table up over there, you could probably do it, but you'll get tired. But if I had 8 people that said, all right, let's lift it up, we can do it all day, every day. If I get tired, I got the other 7 people that can help me lift it. And that is what is wrong. See, let me kind of explain to you how I got it. When I first became a principal, I was a principal of an inner city school. We did not have money. So my superintendent didn't say, here's $5 million, Hurt. You can go ahead and get all these new stuff. No, I didn't have that. Okay. So pretty much I had to take with what I had, and my resources was my teachers. So I said, okay, if my teachers are my resources, they're my human capital. Let me take from them their gifts and talents that they have. The other thing is that I said, all right, we're not going to get new kids, but if I got 800 kids coming from the inner city and they're all Black and Latino kids, let me start to learn. Let me start to read up on them. Let me start to understand how they are learning their best learning styles. We call it culturally responsive teaching. How can I set up my school, my classroom to deal with the kids that's coming into my school? Once again, that does not take a dime. It's all free. It's just getting knowledge and trying to get to understanding. The third thing is that data drives everything. And then I know I've been saying this, but data drives everything. If you really look at all of the high achieving schools all across the world in the United States of America that has Black kids coming from poverty, they have 4 characteristics, and one of the characteristics is that they are a data-driven school. They focusing on data like it's yesterday, because whatever you focus in on, that's what's going to move. If you focus in on fun, we're going to be a fun school. We're going to have a good time. If you focus in on data and student achievement, that's what's going to take place.
Right.
Love it, love it. He's talking about language.
Right.
He's talking about language. So
I'm talking your language, Dr. Ross.
Yes,
All right,
yes.
all right.
So if we take a field trip to your school,
I'm going.
Come on.
what do we see? What should we expect to see if there's a group of teachers? Let's just say a group of teachers are meeting. What does that look like?
Oh.
All right. So if you
As
take a field trip to my school, Principal Hurt School. So remember, Dr. Ross, I'm totally outside of the box. So I don't believe in none I see out. I'm just like, let's do it. So the first thing that you come into our school, the first thing that you'll see is that you will see pictures of all of my students hanging from the ceiling. Okay. That's the first thing you'll see. So what we have 800, 500 kids hanging from our ceiling all throughout the school, their face. Why is that important? Because I want my kids to see a positive image of themselves every day for 185 days out of the year. Because I know is that when whatever you see, that's what you're going to believe. So if you see yourself smiling, you're going to believe that. Because remember, the neighborhoods that they're coming from, people don't smile. They don't have mentoring programs in those neighborhoods. They don't have libraries. They don't have all those things. They're coming from poverty. So now, how can I get the kids to code switch from their neighborhood into the building? So we got pictures of all of our kids hanging from the ceiling. That's the first thing that you will see.
Okay.
All right. Second thing that you will see is that you're going to see data and goals that we're going to accomplish at the end of the year. We don't just talk about it, but it's in your face, because I know if you see it, you will believe it. So now we got the kids and we got all of our goals for the end of the year, because we don't do nothing except align everything that we're going to do to our academic goals. Now, my PLCs, my data meetings, and everything else like that, it is very conducive to learning. So we're bringing data to our meetings. Okay, so say for example, I have an hour meeting, right? Usually have an hour meeting throughout the week. Mine is every Monday from 3:30 to 4:30. That is the only time I'm requiring my teachers to meet me. Okay, the first 10 minutes I'll do my housekeeping notes, and then but the next 35 minutes we look at our data, because every week we do short cycle assessments, and I need them to bring all of the data to one room so we can look over it. Okay, and then during those meetings we look over our data, and then from there we say, okay, what are we going to do differently or stay the same for the following week to address the needs of our students. All right. So I'm not the principal. I am facilitating the education that's taking place at my school. So that's what you will see. You will see. Oh, also, you will hear me in the morning in my morning announcements. I'm making sure that my kids, my teachers, everybody is pumped up for that day. So I'm gonna make sure I get on that morning announcements, get them pumped up, get them ready for those next 7 to 8 hours, and we just go at it.
All right, we got to take a field trip.
Okay, I'm going.
Please.
You can hop in because I can like visualize it, and setting the tone, not through just the announcement. As soon as you get in the building, and I can only imagine that atmosphere.
Yeah.
So that collaborative culture, that culture where the students are excited about coming and the teachers. So I love it. So how do you get your parents and your community involved in what you're trying to build and creating that culture?
Pretty much.
Dr. Roz, that is a good question. Is that it's funny because you hear the thing that we don't have good parent involvement and stuff like that. Now, I've been blessed. I'm not going to lie. I have some of the best parents out there, but along with that, we have strategies that we use to make sure our parents come. So for example, at the beginning of the year during our open house, this is before COVID and stuff, we have an open house. And during our open house, I also have a job fair. And I think I talked about this before. So what I would do, I would go in the community and I would have 5 or 6 business people come to my school, and they would set up tables. And a week prior to that, I would send out emails and flyers saying, parents, we're gonna have an open house, but also we're gonna have a job fair. So if you're looking for a job, if your uncle looking for a job, your younger son looking for a job, these are the five things that these are the five jobs that's gonna take place. Bring your resume, fill out applications, and some of them might be hired on the spot. So I've been doing that for the last 4 to 5 years. It's a tradition, and we usually have 95% of our parents that come to the open house. All right. The other thing
Yeah.
that, yeah, seriously, seriously. And then I always posted at the beginning of the year on Facebook what it looks like. Parents are getting jobs. We usually have about 10 to 15 parents per year that will get a job at that particular job fair. So now, Dr. Ross and Coach Williams, now are we talking about poverty? So now we're talking about stopping poverty right there because now I'm giving you a job right there on the spot. All right. The other thing is that I have tapped into some of the sororities, and fraternities within our city of Michigan. So the Zetas, the AKAs, they're all coming and they donate their time and their services. Okay, so I'm tapping into that. All right. The third thing is that also I'm making sure that the particular parent meetings are focused on the parents. All right. So all of our parent meetings are on Thursday. We don't do nothing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but on Thursday. And we start at 6 o'clock. You asked the question, why we start at 6 o'clock? Most parents get off at 5 o'clock. They gotta run home, cook dinner. So why would you have a parent meeting or a parent function at 4 or 4:30 when parents are at work? Right? Makes no sense. The other thing is I have it on Thursday because now I got to deal with my teachers. If I have it on Tuesday, the teacher's going to be tired Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Have it on Thursday, we can suck it up for one day on Friday, and we got the weekend to rest up.
Right.
Makes sense to me, don't it? Don't it just
Yeah.
really makes sense? It really makes sense. So those are some of the things that I try to get the parents to understand what I'm about. The other thing that we had, and I can't wait till people hear this segment, is that we have it every year. Is a tradition called Single Mothers Raising Boys.
Wow.
Now I'm going to say that single mothers raising boys. All right.
Yeah.
For the last 14 years as a principal, 95% of my referrals was boys coming into my office. I get it. But then when I would call the mothers, all of the mothers would have the same type of testimony to me. So then I said, know what? How about I have somebody come in and we do it twice a year that will talk to my mothers that's raising these young boys from the elementary level to the middle school level to the high school level. So I will have someone come in who have raised up boys that now they're successful to give my parents strategies. So now I got 50 to 60 parents in a room. They can look around. They don't feel like they're the only one, and they can share, bond, talk about it. Talk about how a young boy won't be 7 years old. He'll be 14 years old, and that's a whole different conversation than from 14 to 18. Those are the things that we do. So when you talk about parent engagement, let's put some real things in place that parents will want to go to that they will benefit from.
I told you
Woo.
things that you can really apply tomorrow, right?
My notepad is
Yeah.
full.
He gives real strategies, right? This is not
Yeah.
just theory. This is things that you can apply tomorrow. I love it.
It makes sense.
Makes sense.
Centering it in on that group. That's a whole demographic that I'm gonna say it. Schools don't focus on. We're missing families because we're not being intentional. I love it.
All right. So before we wrap up again, guys, this is part 2. And so I'm loving it, loving it, loving it. We want to know a lot of your strategies, Principal Hurt, they sound great and they sound good. And we're just going to answer this question and then we're done. So you're telling me that I can do all of this stuff? Like now, even during the pandemic, yes or no? Give it to me straight, Principal Hurt. Is this realistic to do this now?
I'm going to give it to you straight. Yes, it is very realistic. Well, how do I know? Because I did it last year and I'm doing it now. So, once again, it might not be a face-to-face, but it could be virtual like we're doing virtual, the virtual meetings, the virtual mentoring programs. Last year, I had a boys mentor program and a girls mentor program virtually. So everything could be done virtually. It's just the will that we want to do it? How much will do we have to make sure that we are meeting the needs of the kids, of the students, of the parents, of all of the stakeholders?
Awesome. So you heard it here, guys. We can build these collaborative cultures even during a pandemic. We can turn schools around, get communities involved, make sure our teachers are involved in the work, even during the pandemic. So don't give up. Keep pressing. We can do it, guys. All right. So, Principal Hurt, how can people follow you and get connected and get more information about the PDs and the consulting work? How can we get more tips and strategies from you?
I'm on all social media platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, IG. Just type in Shawn Hurt and boom, I will pop up. If you like for me to come and support your school, just inbox me. Also, I have a website. That's Shawn Hurt School Turnaround Specialist.com. That's Shawn Hurt School Turnaround Specialist.com. And also my email address is ShawnHurt24@yahoo.com. That's Shawn Hurt. SHAWN Hurt HURT like pain 24 the number 24@yahoo.com. So please, I would love to come support your school. On Saturday, I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn Live from 10 to 10:30, just giving out that knowledge. And also, if you have not picked up my book, I got to plug it, Dr. Ross. I got my book, How to Transform Your Inner City School and Raise Student Achievement. So make sure you pick up the book, read it. It's an easy read. It will take about 2 hours. I wanted to make it an easy read because I know we're busy, but I wanted to use those practical strategies that I know that can help transform schools. So once again, those are the places that I'm at. And also, before I leave, Dr. Roz and Coach Williams, thank you for having me. I'm a big fan of both of you ladies. I love the work that you ladies are doing. So I'm just thankful for this podcast, for you bringing me on and just helping out all these educators out there. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You fill my cup up.
Right. And this is the one thing that I love about the pandemic. It's brought us together. Despite, regardless of where we live, we are coming together to share best practices. So again, Principal Hurt, thank you so much. We're going to put all those links and different things and information about your book right here so people can click on it and get all of that juicy information. All right. So and look, you're part of the village, you're family. So we'll be able, we'll be in touch. Yeah, you'll be back.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. All right, so
Girl.
Part 2. That's how we had to break it up. We had to do a part 1 and part 2.
I'm gonna play this back.
Exactly. So again, guys, thank you so much for joining the village. Continue to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We want to hear from you. Share your best practices. And again, remember, teacher leadership is a mindset, not a position. See you next time.